First of all, let me congratulate all of you, the teachers, the staff, and the management of this institution. As Comrade Garu mentioned, I have fondness for these institutions because I don't remember how we encountered each other, but I saw humility, transparent sincerity, and commitment to public good. Whenever you see these three things, humility, transparent sincerity, and commitment to public good, it's impossible not to like them and not to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. And that's how whenever either Pallavi group of institutions or Delhi Public School, NACHARAM, whenever they request me, I almost never say no. First of all, my apologies for being a little late today. I'm a stickler to punctuality, but the bad traffic, as usual in Hyderabad, has become a menace. I already told the chairman and the chief executive and Pallavi Garu that I will not speak, maybe a few brief words. We'll make it interactive because speeches are boring. They're only there to satisfy the speaker's ego. We listen and we don't even listen, we hear them and it doesn't really register. The greatest benefit we can give ourselves is to stimulate thinking, to inspire each other, to search for answers to the complex challenges that we face in the world today. So I'll probably make a few points in a few minutes. My request is let's have a meaningful interaction. There's a lot that you can teach, you have enormous experience. There's nothing that is original in me. I don't know anything about what's happening any more than you do. We only try and make some sense of what is happening and find an answer to our complex challenges. So let me make just a couple of points. You are doing an outstanding job. The Delhi Public School and the Pallavi institutions. But if you look at the bigger picture in the country, our education is in a perilous state. While the children struggle hard, the parents sacrifice a great deal. Governments spend a lot of money on education. Society values education. Even today, 46 years later, you're talking about my alleged success in the IAS examination. We celebrate success. Despite all the conditions being right, the outcomes in education are a disaster in this country. I want us to face this reality. I'm a great optimist. All of us love our country, our culture, our civilization. But optimism does not mean that we ignore realities. Optimism means we confront unhappy realities with confidence and change it for the better. Our education is one of the worst in the world right now in terms of outcomes. We have fancy degrees, 99% pass marks, high GPAs, all sorts of things. But most of it is useless. And in that desert, institutions like this are the oasis. You are showing what is possible. My first request is do not be content with the laurels. Just because you are doing better than the rest, in a country where education in general is underperforming, that's not enough. The country demands more, the country needs more to face the complex challenges. Let me give an example. Right now, we are in the midst of a war in the Gulf, which has a profound impact on all our lives. It's some thousands of kilometers away. But the lives of almost everybody, of about 7 to 8 billion people on planet Earth, are impacted very profoundly by this war. Not of our making, not of our choosing, but we all pay the price. Now, I don't want to go into geopolitical issues. We have to confront this in the short term, in the medium term, and the long term. Take the medium term. Short term is somehow we deal with the challenges, the shortages, but take the medium term. We have to find alternative routes to Strait of Hormuz to get that oil into the global markets. That means you have to probably have another pipeline of a much greater capacity, east-west pipeline. Right now, 7 million barrels a day is transported from the east coast of Saudi Arabia to the west coast to a place called Yanbu, to a port called Yanbu on the west coast, so that in the Red Sea, through the Strait of Bab el Mandab, we can transport much of this oil. Now, 20 million barrels we are losing per day, 7 million we are transporting, that's not enough. We must get the balance 13, 14 million barrels, plus gas, plus some other commodities like fertilizers and sulfur to the west coast. It costs a lot of money, it needs technology, it needs speed of execution for the world. Within the next year and a half, the world must do that so that no matter what happens in future, even if the Strait of Hormuz is forever closed, the global economies are not affected. That requires imagination, that requires leadership, that requires technology. As a country, India, for instance, needs to aggressively pursue electrification, solar power, battery storage, and transport systems depending on electricity rather than oil, other technologies dependent more on electricity from cooking to everything else in the world, so that the oil dependence itself will substantially come down. If that did not happen in some measure in the last 10, 20 years, this crisis would have been much worse by now. Oil would have been probably $200 or $250 by now. If the oil dependence of the world has not come down a little bit, we came down by about 10 percentage points in the last 20 years. If the same thing happened in 1973, we could not have faced it. But now we are much better off, but we are not sufficiently there. We must create a situation in the next 10, 15 years as a country and as the world to wean ourselves out of the oil so that even if there is a 50% disruption, our economies will not be impacted, our mobility will not be impacted, our lives will not be impacted. Again, requires the genius of education, technology, research, speed, and delivery. I can go on and on. You take anything that matters, that really matters to all of us. The foundation of transformation is education. But that education is not about passing examinations and getting marks. It's about innovation. It's about imagination. It's about real understanding. It's about problem-solving skills. Take any field. We live in a fantastic world today. The world has never been better in human history. We may imagine all kinds of golden eras in the past, but nothing was as good as today. Things that were impossible even 30, 40 years ago to the bulk of humanity are accessible and available to most human beings today in the world. We are lucky and privileged. But in order to embrace those technologies, those opportunities, and make them available to all people of the country, to prosper collectively as a country and as the globe, the only tool we have is education, technology, innovation, excellence. So we have to make our youngsters not merely pass examinations, but think afresh, become problem solvers, become true leaders who shape the events of tomorrow. So my appeal is, go a little beyond your examinations. Go a little beyond what you're doing. Look at China. I remember 20 years ago when I visited China, about 20 or 21 years ago, probably in 2005, a group of 5 of us, very well-known Indians from across the country. One was a former Union Cabinet Minister and Deputy Chairman Planning Commission. One was a current member of the Planning Commission. One was a former Foreign Secretary and Ambassador to China. Another was a former Secretary to Government of India, and I. The 5 of us visited. We traveled extensively in some parts of China for a week or so. In many places, Chinese officials came up to me and said, we admire your higher education in India. By that time, we already knew how bad our own higher education was. But obviously, we would not say anything derogatory of our country on a foreign soil. So we maintained silence. They were impressed by the branding of IITs and IIMs. Obviously, some of the institutions of excellence are doing a good job in India. They thought that was higher education all over India. And they were lamenting the fact that they did not have the kind of caliber that Indian higher education had. That was 20 years ago. In these 20 years, China has done a spectacular job of improving higher education. Their universities are next only to that of the United States. Their research and development, patenting, publication of papers, new technologies, innovation. are second to none. In some areas now they lead the world. They're no longer number two, they're number one. Solar power, storage batteries, electric vehicles. Take the three things that are critical for energy transformation in the world. They are the leaders in the world. Construction industries, they are the leaders in the world. High-speed transportation networks, they are the leaders in the world. Today's world gives us immense opportunity. What was possible over a century, today we can do it over a decade, if only you have the will and the vision and the skill. The skill part is education. Leadership development also is partly education. That's why you all must have heard the adage. The Duke of Wellington, after the Battle of Waterloo, when he was asked, he said the Battle of Waterloo was won in the playing fields of Eton, one of the famous public schools there. Basically, he was trying to say leadership comes from the quality of education at school level. So your role as teachers, as managers of education at the school level, is incredibly important in the destiny of the country and in the destiny of these children. Never lose sight of it. And never for a moment believe that we have problems which are so daunting that we cannot solve. There is not a problem in the world today or in the country today which cannot be solved by better education with our available resources and technology. The only differentiator is quality education, where we are doing very badly. So my appeal is, you're doing a great job, but you need to excel and set an example to the rest of the country much more. And I don't want to waste any more time. Once again, let me pay my humble tribute to all of you teachers. Comrade Garu said, it was our teachers who inspired us. I still remember my teachers. One of them is 97 years old, Uma Maheshwara Garu. He was a great headmaster and a great math teacher. I called him the other day. He's still active at 97. He's independent. He lives on his own most of the time. Part of the time he spends time with his son's family. Otherwise he lives on his own, self-reliant, and a man with such clarity of thinking and communication even today. A very inspiring person. And many others. In a village school, in Telugu medium, Jilla Parishad school, my science teacher, Gopal Rao, he actually dissected a frog in the classroom in 9th grade, which you don't do in intermediate in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh now. Without visiting a laboratory, our kids are finishing first class and first class first in intermediate. We made a joke of our education. Whereas 60 years ago, 57 years ago, 58 years ago, our teachers had the vision in the poorest of the schools in villages, in government schools, to actually conduct the experiments, to inspire us, to kindle our imagination. It is to these teachers that we owe everything in life. You are doing a fantastic job. Continue to do it and inspire other teachers in government and outside to do a much, much better job than we are doing. Then India is safe, our children are safe. Once again, I thank you for your service and I thank you for the opportunity to be with you.